Hello, this is Michael Wickett again. Many years ago, Charles Dickens wrote, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the age of belief, it was the age of incredulity. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We were all headed straight to heaven, we were all headed straight in the other direction." Now, although that was written over 150 years ago, could it not have been written today? Do we not all know people who are experiencing the best of times and the worst of times? In the wealthiest society in the history of the world, we have millions of people that are struggling financially, that are in debt, that are on food stamps, that don't have jobs, in the best times that have ever existed. In America, we have millions of people that are happily married to one partner for a long time. And in the midst of that, we have people that have holes in their heart from divorces and broken relationships. We have people that are extremely healthy. In 1959, I remember reading Life magazine, there were 6 people in America that were 100 or more. Today, there are 70,000. So all over America, we have people that are young and vital and healthy, and we have people on Valium and prescription drugs, and millions of kids on Ritalin and antidepressants. This program is about one thing. It's about the best of times. It's about once and for all creating a life that works for you. It's about making your dreams come true. It's about being happy, fulfilled, and prosperous. So let's think about the cause, first cause, if you will, of a happy, fulfilled, prosperous life or a miserable life. And that is the mind. Everything in the physical world is first created in the mind. Marcus Aurelius, over 2,000 years ago, said, "We become what we think about all day long." U.S. Anderson said, "The things of our life are just the children of our thoughts." And if we want to bring forth different children, quote, in our life, then we have to do it with a different thought process. You see, we cannot create a new life with the thought process that created our current experience. Roger Milliken, the chairman of Milliken Textiles, was addressing an industry group of about 10,000 many years ago. He gave a wonderful definition of insanity. Perhaps you've heard it. I'd like to share it again here. He said that insanity is to continue to do what you've been doing and expecting a different result. We cannot change our life without changing our mental patterns. The good news is that Jose Silva has given us his mind training techniques so that we can change our mind, so that we can tap into our higher intelligence and create our life differently and create a life that works. Remember that we're thinking all the time. Sometimes people pray to change their life, and they go into a church on Saturday or Sunday to pray. I want to share with you what Mr. Emerson said. "And though thy knees were never bent, to heaven hourly thy prayers are sent, and whether formed for good or ill, are registered and answered still." My friend, every thought is a prayer, and they're all answered. And I say that because the thoughts that we think form patterns, and they go out into the world, and they come back to us in the circumstances of our life. Mr. Emerson also said that all we really do in life is radiate out and attract back. So if we want to attract different circumstances and different experiences, we have to radiate out different energy than we have been doing in the past. How do we do that? We use Jose Silva's mind training techniques to get guidance from higher intelligence as to how we can perceive things differently, how we can think differently, how we can act differently. And as a result of that, we can transform our lives. We can have entire new experiences. I said to you that I am a part of this program because the Silva ideas have been revolutionary in my life. And I was a person who was thought of as very average, who was never considered very bright. As a matter of fact, when I was in school, I graduated in the half of the class that made the top half possible. So I didn't do very well. And nobody ever suggested that I was very bright. And I never believed I was either. Until I started to study the work of Jose Silva and interview people and get feedback and then practice the principles myself. And I realized that I have the same avenue to higher intelligence that everyone else does. It has been wonderful in my life, and it's been absolutely profound in my relationship with my 14-year-old daughter, Kristen Renee. I shared with you earlier that as a child, we did not have a family life, and I am not complaining. I am merely relating what happened. You know, in an alcoholic home, you don't have dinners together, and you don't go on picnics, and you don't have family discussions, and there's not a great deal of love. There's screaming and yelling and violence and scared little children and enormous unrest. And my childhood was a hole in my heart all of my life. And when I was 42, I had a miracle occur. I became a father. And I had dreamed of having one daughter. I don't know why, but it's just what I felt. And at the age of 42, my daughter Kristen was born. And I was in the delivery room at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan, when she came into the world. Now, I had never held a baby in my life. And the doctors performed some immediate tests, and they handed me this 2-minute-old baby. And I looked down at the little tiny fingers and fingernails and the little tiny toes and the ears, and I said, this is a miracle. This is an absolute incredible miracle. And I said to myself, this is what my life is about from now on. I'm going to devote myself to being a wonderful father to this child and do whatever it takes to give her the kind of childhood I wish that I had had. Well, the early years of her life, I suffered from ADD, attention deficit disorder, and anxiety. And although I loved and adored her, I was not peaceful. I was not relaxed. I was not focused, and I was impatient. Now, I have since apologized for my impatience and my lack of presentness, if you will, when she was little. And she said, that's okay, Dad, I forgive you. We have a wonderful relationship, and you did the best you could. And this is a small child saying that. And I really devoted myself to affirming her and encouraging her and loving her and letting her know what a wonderful person she was. When I was a little boy, I just wanted somebody to tell me that I was a wonderful person. And I didn't hear that very often. I heard everything that was wrong with me. So I decided that I would focus on everything that was right about my daughter, and I would do everything I could to give her a positive, loving self-image. And we had a very close relationship over the years. In fact, one of the great blessings of my life, interestingly enough, was to do many of the things with my daughter that I had always regretted that I did not do as a child. The family things and dinners in front of the fire and wonderful Christmases. And, you know, I was really involved as my daughter discovered life as a small person. And it was really wonderful. And she was the most important thing in my life, and I learned everything I could about how to be a loving, supportive father. And when she was about 12 years old, someone heard me tell a story about how much I loved being a father and what a special blessing it was. And I was talking about family and that really there's no time in the future to stay close to your kids. There's only now, you know, regardless of what our career responsibilities are. Our most important responsibility, I believe, is if we have children, to be devoted to them and to really, really, really be a part of their lives. And when she was about 12, somebody said to me one day, well, you better enjoy her now because in a couple of years it's going to be hell. And I never heard that before. And I said, what are you talking about? They said, oh, when she becomes a teenager, you're going to lose her. It's going to be like you had a lobotomy. She will want nothing to do with you. She will disrespect you. She will turn her back on you. It'll be hell. And I said to myself, as I walked away, no way. I refuse to accept that. There's absolutely no way in this world I will accept that. Because, you see, I have the techniques of Jose Silva at my command, and I understand life doesn't happen to us. Life happens from us. Disempowered people believe life is happening to them. Empowered people understand life is happening from us, and we create our life from the inside out. So I immediately began to go to my level and focus with more intensity on a lifelong loving bond with my daughter, Kristen. Then she became a teenager, and her personality changed, and she discovered boys and clothes and makeup, and it really was wonderful. I had never had the experience, and it was really amazing to start to shop with her and have her be so clothes conscious and talk about boys. It was really a wonderful experience. And I decided that as she went into her teenage years that I was going to get even closer to her. And today's teenagers have been programmed with some things that I was not programmed with when I was a child. So I know that I needed to understand her. So I made it a major mission in life a couple years ago. She was almost 13. I made it a major mission in life that I would get even closer to my child. And I didn't know how to do that. And I thought about it consciously. And I said, well, I'm always complimenting her. I tell her I love her every day. When I'm on the road, I call her every day. How could I get closer to her? And I just couldn't think of anything. So knowing that I could get guidance from my higher intelligence, I went to level. And I asked higher intelligence, what do I need to do to get closer to my daughter? Instantaneously, the answer I got was, ask her. Profoundly simple. I had not thought of it. The very next day, we were riding in the car to go somewhere. I turned the radio off, and I said, honey, I want to ask you a question. She said, what, Dad? I said, Chrissy, what could Dad do to be a more loving father to you? Without hesitation, like she had been waiting for me to ask the question, she said, Dad, you could take me on some of your trips. I said, what do you mean? She said, Dad, you've never invited me on any of your business trips, and I'd love to go. I said, are you serious? She said, Dad, I'd love to see what you do. Now, I've always had the thought that children don't belong at business functions. This was a belief that I had, and we are controlled by our beliefs. And I started to think about it, and I said, well, honey, if I took you to one of my business functions, I'm not sure you could be in the room. She said, oh, Dad, I don't need to be there the whole time. I just want to see what you do. She said, I wouldn't bother you. And I thought, wow, my child wants to go on a trip with me and see what I do as a speaker. Well, I became aware that I had a speech for the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, Novartis Pharmaceutical, at the Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City, Michigan, one of her favorite places where she would go with getaways, with her mother and with I. And I said, honey, I've got a speech in 2 months up at the Grand Traverse Resort. How would you like to go to that one? She said, Dad, could I bring a friend? She said, Dad, it would give me something to do while you're speaking. I said, sure. I said, who do you want to bring? And she said, Dad, I'd love to bring Brittany. And I thought about it, and I said, that would be a great weekend. We've never done anything like that. So we planned the trip, and I had slightly mixed emotions. A business trip, serious, focused on the customer. But I thought my child was so excited about this. And as we got closer to the date, she was just absolutely thrilled. And I thought, this was the right decision. I didn't know how right it was. Well, we got up there, and I set the ground rules. The seminar was 8 to 11 in the morning, 3-hour seminar for about 12 people. Now, she reminded me that they sleep in. And, little children, they sleep till 11, 12 o'clock. And I said, girls, I've got to get up early. I got to leave about 7:20. I'll just leave the drapes closed and leave the lights off. And you sleep as long as you want, but we just got 2 rules. You can't go in the pool without me. And you don't interrupt the meeting unless it's an emergency. Now, if it's an emergency, I'm going to write down the room in the company. You just come right in. But if it's not an emergency, don't interrupt. She said, Dad, we won't. So we said goodnight, and I was reading in one bed, and the 2 girls were falling asleep in the other bed. And I had a wonderful feeling about being there with my child. And so the next morning, I got up at about 6:45. It was pitch dark. The drapes were closed. I tiptoed into the bathroom. Shaved, showered, got ready, casual resort attire. came out of the bathroom to get my printed material and briefcase at 7:20 in the morning, and my 12-year-old daughter, Kristen, was standing there in the dark, dressed, holding my briefcase. And I was stunned. I said, "Honey, what are you doing?" She said, "Dad, I want to come with you and see what you do." I was so touched that I was almost moved to tears. It was an unbelievable magic moment with my child. And as we walked over to the elevator and went up to the room, I thought, this is the most incredible thing that has ever happened in my life. Because as a person who didn't have a childhood, and by the way, I'm not blaming my parents, who did the very best they could, like every parent in the world, but we didn't have a sober, happy, peaceful childhood as other children did. That's all I wanted with my child. And here, the most important person in my life was at my side carrying my briefcase at 7:30 in the morning. We go up to the room. She asked me about the handouts, and she helped me put them out for 12 people. A few minutes later, the vice president came in, and I welcomed him, and I said, "I'd like you to meet my daughter, Kristen." And she said, "Hello." And she said to him, "Don't worry, I'm not going to interrupt the meeting. I promised my dad that I would not come in unless it was an emergency." So I hugged her goodbye and gave her the charge card. She said, "Dad, you know, if you give us the charge card, we can shop. It'll keep us busy." And she walked out, and he turned to me and he said, "How old is that child?" I said, "She's 12. She's almost 13. He said, "How did you ever get a 12-year-old kid to get up at 7:30 in the morning?" I said, "You know what? It's the most amazing thing. She wanted to see what I do. So I came out of the shower, and she was standing there holding my briefcase." He looked at me and he said, "You must really be doing something right as a father." I said, I said, "It's unbelievable." Well, I had a great seminar for them, and when I was done, I found the girls, and we had lunch, and we went to the pool, and they just had the most marvelous time at the Grand Traverse Resort. And on the way home, she said, "Dad, can we do this every year?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "We'll plan a trip every summer where you can bring a friend." And then we planned a second trip that year where she and I went away in the fall by ourselves to northern Michigan. We had a terrific time. And the next year we did it again with a friend. And the next year we did it again with a friend. And I developed a whole new dimension of closeness to my child that exists to this day. And it all happened because I asked one question that was given to me by higher intelligence at the alpha level. So simple, it was profound. As a result of those trips that we took together, my daughter asked more about the things I was doing and if she could be a part of them. Well, a wonderful friend of mine named Jim Tuman plays Santa Claus to several thousand physically challenged, mentally impaired inner city kids in Detroit. And a couple years ago, he asked me to come and hand out hundreds of Christmas presents that were donated by very loving people all over Detroit. It was so profound to see small children so filled with joy getting two presents that they had written down and asked Santa Claus for, that I told my daughter about it, and she immediately asked if she could go. And so last Christmas, my daughter went with me and 6 other high school kids to a school in Detroit where kids came in wheelchairs. They came in wearing braces, kids with cancer, multiple sclerosis, mentally impaired. And we gave out hundreds and hundreds of gifts, and my 13-year-old daughter was right in the middle, loving and supporting and handing out Christmas gifts. It was absolutely magical. It was exactly what I had prayed for. It was exactly what I wanted. And all of that developed out of me getting guidance from higher intelligence that was so perfect, I never could have thought of it. And what I want to say to you is, in your relationships, you have a higher intelligence. You have a guide that will give you the solutions you need to get closer to the people that are important to you. Take advantage of the wonderful mind techniques that Jose Silva has given us. And I want you to think about something. People that are happy at home, people that have loving bonds at home, are much healthier on the whole. They live much longer lives, and they do much better in business because the happier you are, the less stress you have. So the higher intelligence that you use to improve your family relationships will translate into your business and into the marketplace. You have enormous God-given capacity just waiting to be used. You have wonderful higher intelligence within you and all around you that you can tap into to create anything you want that would give you a wonderful, fulfilling life. So go for it. I want to introduce you to an absolutely amazing person, Jonelle Monaco Lytle. She became a Silva instructor in 1973. She became one of the first Ultramind instructors, and she was the first person to introduce Jose Silva's ideas to the Soviet Union in 1989. She has had some extraordinary experiences with people that were in difficult straits in their life, and I want you to meet her.
Hi, I'm Jonelle Monaco Lytle, and over the years of teaching the Silva method, many, many blessings happened, and I wanted to somehow or another just give back to the universe all the wonderful things that had happened to me, to maybe share this method not just through my classes, but to share it with humanity. I was able to, a number of times, give many scholarships to students who were too poor to pay for the tuition. I did the same thing with adults. And then I decided that I wanted to share it with people who were truly in need. And what occurred to me that there was many homeless out there who, if they just knew what I knew, if they knew that there is hope, that they didn't have to live on the street anymore, that they could find jobs, that they could give up their addictions, if they just knew what I knew, that their lives would change for the better. Well, that was a really nice thought that I had for many years, but never actually took the time to do anything about it. And through a series of coincidences, now you're going to notice throughout these tapes that there's a theme that meanders that has to do with correct attitude, coincidences, and intuition. And in this story that I'm about to tell about my homeless project, all three of these factors took place. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, a place I normally would not have been. That day I was feeling like I needed some sympathy because I was having a very difficult time. I had had several tragedies in a row and getting behind in my mortgage payment, and I was feeling sorry for myself, and I don't know why, but I happened to mention to this woman standing next to me as we got into a conversation that I was upset about the fact that it didn't look like I was going to be able to pay my mortgage payment. And when she said to me, "Oh, wow, you're so lucky. I wish I had a mortgage payment." She said, "I live with my husband and my 23-year-old son and my dog out in the woods near here." And at that point, I realized that I wanted to do something about that situation. It was the middle of November, and that night was a very cold, windy night. I made a commitment at that moment that I would take a portion of my life, the rest of my life, and dedicate it to helping the homeless. I didn't know how I was going to go about it. But the point I want to make here is that through a series of coincidences and through a lot of intuition and through an attitude where I knew that I wasn't going to get paid, that I just wanted to help them, that all of this homeless project came about. So over the next week or so, I got a call from a friend, Victor Covens, up in Baltimore, Maryland, and he had invited me to come and listen to Ed Byrne, who would be training the Silva sales program in Baltimore, Maryland. Well, I had no desire to go to Baltimore, Maryland, even though it was only an hour from my home because I had a very busy life at the time, and I just was overwhelmed with too many things to be doing for me to travel 4 hours away from my home. But coincidentally enough, later that week I got a call from my daughter, who also is extremely busy in her college career, and she suddenly had a free weekend, and she said, "Mom, why don't we go see Grandma?" So up we went to Bethesda, Maryland. And I was so excited because I was going to spend that evening, that Saturday evening, with my daughter, two of my nieces, Tracy and Christine, and we were going to go off to a dinner and a movie together. It was going to be a fun weekend with my family. And so what happened as it got closer to 5 o'clock, I kept getting this intuition that I kept pushing out of my mind. I did not want to follow it. I wanted to ignore it. It didn't make any sense. My left brain logic kept saying, no, you're going to do what you came up here for. But it kept telling me to go to the Baltimore class. Well, I hadn't been to Baltimore since I was a small child. I didn't know how to get there. I knew it was over an hour away. It was also windy and rainy. I just wanted to be with my daughter and my nieces. And so as it got closer to 5 o'clock, I got this intuition. It's that little voice in the back of your head that kind of tells you what to do. That's the voice that I'm talking about. So I went to my bedroom and I went to the level with the Silva method, and that intuition got stronger and stronger, and my left brain of logic kept fighting it because I did not want to go out in the rain into a city that I knew nothing about. So after going to level and working with higher intelligence and that information coming in stronger and stronger, I had to go back out into the living room and tell my daughter and nieces that I was going to Baltimore. So when I got over there, Victor Covens introduced me to the class as a Silva trainer. So on the break, I went out into the hallway, and as I turned, I noticed that a man in the class was coming toward me, and he was already talking to me as though he knew me, and he extended his hand, and all this happened so fast, but the thing that caught my eye was this big red button on his lapel that said, "Homeless, not helpless." And as he got closer, his sentence was something like, "I've been wondering how the Silva method would help mainstream the homeless back into society." Well, before he could even finish the sentence, it was like our minds went click, 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 and I put out my hand, I shook his hand, and I said, "It's a deal." It was like an instant flash of why God had so adamantly guided me to Baltimore when my left brain said I didn't want to go there. So after the class, I spent about 4 hours talking to Truxton Sykes, the president of the Homeless Union in Baltimore, and we made an agreement that I would come back into town in about a month and that he would set up an intro for me at the Pratt Library. But on the way back, the interesting thing is that my left brain logic and evidently some level of low self-esteem started thinking, holy cow, have I bitten off more than I can chew? These people are down and out, homeless, on the street. How am I going to do this? And then I thought, the Silva method, we have miracle after miracle after miracle. I know that. I've been teaching this for years. And there are miracles all around the world with what the Silva method can do. I thought, okay, I'm turning the whole thing over to higher intelligence. I know that God will give me the trigger mechanisms or the trigger words that I will need in that intro to help those people, because my intention was to help the homeless. I went to bed with that intention on my mind. So that night, I had a beautiful dream about President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Abraham Lincoln. And they were all in there, and they were acting like cheerleaders, like they knew me. They were calling me by my nickname, Joey, and they were saying, "Come on, Joey, you can do it. We're there for you. You've got to do this thing." So you can imagine that in the morning when I woke up, I had this newfound self-confidence, because I thought if those people showed up in my dreams, then it must mean that there's a level somewhere in the universe that says that I'm to do this thing. So I got a little more excited about going and serving. So when I did finally go up there, there were 50 homeless people in this auditorium, and after my talk, 49 of them signed up for the program. So I still did a lot of praying, and I asked God every night, I know that you're going to be there for me. I know that you're going to give me what it is I need through the Silva technique to inspire these people to stick with the program and to apply it in their lives and to change their lives. And so I just went with that attitude. And that Monday morning when I got there, there were a series of obstacles thrown in my path to almost keep me from doing this project. And I kept saying, I said I would do it. God guided me there. I'm going to keep my commitment, and I'm going to do this thing. All sorts of weird things happened. My car wouldn't stay in a parking place. It kept sliding out of the parking place because there was ice on the street. And I couldn't even get into the place where I was to unpack, change clothes, and go to the class. So when I finally got there that morning, well, by 9:15, I was the only one there. And I started wondering, okay, did I follow some intuition that wasn't really intuition? What's going on, God? So a few moments later, around 9:20, this very sad-looking person walked in and said, well, I'm just here to tell you that, you probably won't have anybody for your class today. And so I looked at him and said, well, why is that? And he said, well, this morning one of our friends was frozen to death on the grate outside the Federal Building because something happened and the electricity went off, and where the steam used to go out of this grate that he used to sleep on, it quit during the middle of the night while he was sleeping, and so he didn't get up and move to a warmer place, and he froze to death. And he said, "We're all bummed out. I don't really think anybody's going to show up." So I said, "Excuse me for a moment." And I went into the ladies' room, and I said this prayer. I said, "Okay, God, I'm here, and I have one student. If it's your desire that I teach this one student, I will do that." Well, in a split second, I just knew that I was to go out there and teach that one student. It didn't matter that I didn't have a full class. So I went out there, and within a very short while, another student showed up. So I started the introductory lecture over again. And then a little bit more, there was another one and another one. So by 11 o'clock, I think I had 23 people. I was able to get the long relax and some of the beginning self-improvement techniques to the class that very first day. And I did want to share with you the fact that because this had come to me so many times during that 5 weeks before I actually went and talked to them in person, it was like all day long I was mentally communicating with these people that I hadn't even met yet, even before the intro. And what I got a sense of these people was that they were very old souls who had come in to maybe take the hard road to hoe this lifetime. And that for them to choose that path meant that they were very special people to live out in the weather, you know, the cold and then the heat in the summer, and to sleep on cement and to have no shelter and just to have a very different life than most of us are used to. And somehow or another, I wanted to let them know that I felt honored and privileged that I was able to serve them through the Silva method, knowing that this was the best method that I could come up with that would help give them the hope to get off the street and give them the techniques. So that's how I started my class. And I had to say that a number of times with, you know, a lump in my throat, tears in my eyes, and a little bit of ache in my heart, because I wanted to know that from the very bottom of my heart, I was there to serve them, but I wanted them to know that I didn't feel above them, that I felt honored that I could share these techniques that would change their lives. The most profound point that I'd like to make here is that this homeless class only received about half of the Silva training. 6 weeks after their training, I recommunicated with Truxton Sykes. I wanted to know how they were doing. Truxton was so excited. He said 70% of those that I worked with not only were able to find homes, find jobs, but several of them had gotten off of crack cocaine. In a later class in June, one of the men who had heard that I was back in town, now this is a man who had gotten off of crack cocaine, found a home, and had gotten a real job, took off work, got on a bus, and came across town to another church where I was teaching the second homeless class, because he wanted to share with that class what had happened in his life. And he was so inspiring that in that class we had a nurse who had lost her job because she had been stealing drugs for her drug habit. And when she was finally caught and fired, of course, after a month or so, she was out on the street, living on cement, eating at the soup kitchens, and had given up on life. And later I found out that she was able to use the Silva techniques not only to find a home, but she decided to completely change careers. She actually went and got full training and was working her way into becoming a mortgage broker, and was at a level that she felt very successful and was receiving an income and training, and she owed it all to the Silva techniques. So imagine, if the homeless people can do what they did in their lives with the Silva techniques, imagine what it can do for you in your life. And now, to explain to you how you can get your guidance from higher intelligence to help you fulfill your mission in life, let me introduce you to Jose Luis Romero, the director of Silva Ultramind Systems, who's worked with Jose Silva since 1971.
Thank you, Jonelle. That was a powerful story. I'm sure it will touch many lives. Right now, I'm going to show you one of the most powerful techniques that Jose Silva developed, which is the mental video technique. Mr. Silva believed that we were sent here on a mission, and he was not alone. Some of the greats, like Wayne Dyer, Chuck Wayne, who are Silva graduates, also believed the same thing. He believed that we were sent by our Creator to help make this a better world to live. He believed that our Creator sent us here with the necessary tools and training to accomplish our mission. We were sent on a mission to help make this a better place to live. We were sent with this body that we have and our physical senses to help us accomplish the physical things in this world. We were also provided with our subjective, intuitive senses to help us with our communication, to obtain information that we need to help us accomplish our mission, to establish that communication with our Creator, to get guidance, to receive the guidance necessary to help us accomplish the mission. Mr. Silva used to compare this to a mission into outer space. When astronauts are sent with the necessary training, the necessary tools to accomplish a mission, they also have the means to communicate in case there is a problem or to report how their mission is progressing. If there is a problem, the astronauts can report, pretty much like in Apollo 13, report the situation. Back home at Mission Control, they gather the brains, the creators of the mission, of the capsule that took them to that mission, and they come up with the necessary solutions to correct the problem that they have. Then they transmit that information back to the astronauts so that they can make the necessary corrections to complete the mission. Well, we have a similar situation. We were sent here with the necessary tools, the necessary means to communicate with higher intelligence, to be able to report how we are proceeding with our missions. If we have problems, then we report those problems, and to be able to receive guidance and help in order to help us accomplish our mission. Mr. Silva developed a very powerful technique, which is called the mental video technique, to help us in establishing this communication with higher intelligence. With this technique, you actually imagine creating a video of a problem, of a situation where you need help, and then later on, you imagine creating another video of the solution, the possible solution, the way you would like it to be. And then, at your level, you transmit the two videos to higher intelligence. Let me guide you so that you can right now create a video at beta, because later on in the exercise, you will be asked to review this video and then come up with a solution at your level. So let's get started. Let us at beta, with eyes open, mentally create, with visualization, a mental video of a problem. And visualization is recalling something that you already know, something that already exists, something that you have already seen. Include everything that belongs to the animate matter kingdom. Animate matter means everything that contains life. The mental video must include everything animate that concerns the problem. After having completed the mental video of the problem, use visualization to review it at beta with your eyes closed. Later on in the exercise, you will be asked to review this video at your level. So let's go over the steps that you will follow at that time. To use the mental video technique, enter your level with the 3-to-1 method when you are in bed and ready to go to sleep. Once you are at your level, review the mental video that you created of the problem at beta. After you have reviewed the mental video, mentally convert the problem into a project. Then, create with imagination a mental video of the solution. The mental video of the solution should contain a step-by-step procedure of how you desire to solve the project. After both of the mental videos have been completed, go to sleep with the intention of delivering the mental video to your mental tutor. Your tutor is like a guide, like an angel on the other dimension that represents you in the hierarchy of God. Take for granted that the delivery has been made. During the next 3 days, look for indications that point towards the solution. Every time you think of the project, think of the solution you created in the mental video in a past tense sense. Guidance will come to you in different forms. It may be in the forms of a thought, a flash of insight. It could be in the form of a dream. It could be a coincidence. It could be in different forms. You will learn to react to that information that you receive. Once you receive it, then it's up to you to react to make the corrections. In the next session, Ed Byrne will take you through the mental video exercise where you will actually get the opportunity to create a mental video of a problem that you have.
This is the mental video technique of Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP system. I'm Ed Byrne Jr., and I'll be your guide. In the background, you'll hear the gentle tapping of the alpha sound. This sound will help your brain adjust to the alpha rhythm. This tape is to be used with eyes closed, so do not play it when you're driving or performing any other activity that requires the use of eyesight. Remember that if at any time you feel uncomfortable, readjust your position to make yourself more comfortable. If you feel you must open your eyes for any reason, then open your eyes and make yourself comfortable. If you open your eyes, then rewind the tape and start again at the beginning. Anytime you desire to relax, mentally or verbally repeat the word relax, and you will relax physically and mentally. This mind training exercise is based on one originally copyrighted by Jose Silva of Laredo, Texas in 1969 after 25 years of research. New material on this tape is copyrighted in the year 2000 by Silva Ultramind Systems. Reproduction for redistribution is strictly prohibited. Now prepare for this mind training exercise by finding a comfortable position. We will begin this exercise with the 3-to-1 method. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 3 times. To help you learn to relax physically at level 3, I'm going to direct your attention to different parts of your body. Relax your scalp. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your face. Relax your throat. Relax your shoulders. Relax your chest, externally and internally. Relax your abdominal area, externally and internally. Relax your thighs. Relax your knees. Relax your calves. relax your feet. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. This is your physical relaxation level 3. Whenever you mentally repeat and visualize the number 3, your body will relax as completely as you are now, and more so every time you practice. To enter mental relaxation level 2, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 2 3 times, and you are at level 2, a deeper level than 3. Level 2 is for mental relaxation, where noises will not distract you. Instead, noises will help you to relax mentally more and more. To improve mental relaxation at level 2, practice visualizing tranquil and passive scenes. Take another deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 1 3 times. You are now at level 1, basic plane level that you can use for a purpose, any purpose you desire. To help you enter a deeper, healthier level of mind, I'm going to count from 10 to 1. On each descending number, you will feel yourself going deeper, and you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind. 10, 9, feel going deeper. 8, 7, 6, deeper and deeper. 5, 4, 3, deeper and deeper. 2, 1. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. It is a wonderful feeling to be deeply relaxed, a very healthy state of being. Effective sensory projection statements for success. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on this planet, so as to be aware of any actions taking place, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on any planet within the solar system, any solar system within the galaxy, and any galaxy within the universe, so as to be aware of any actions taking place, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to the different matter kingdoms, the inanimate matter kingdom, any of its levels and depths, the animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence, plant life and animal life, any of its levels and depths, and the animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence and an awareness of existence, the human body and mind kingdom, any of its levels and depths. I am now learning to detect abnormalities whenever such abnormalities exist, within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to apply corrective measures and to bring back to normalcy any abnormality found within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. Negative thoughts and negative suggestions have no influence over me at any level of the mind. The following laws are to be considered when programming. Do to others only what you like others to do to you. The solution must be within the possibility area. The solution must help to make this planet a better place to live. The solution must be the best for everybody concerned. The solution must help at least 2 or more persons. The following principles apply to programming. Objective physical communication takes place at the beta left brain dimension using the objective physical senses. The hearing is used for perception, and the voice is used for transmission. Subjective spiritual communication takes place at the alpha right brain dimension by using the spiritual senses. Visualization is used for perception, and imagination is used for transmission. In the objective physical dimension, the past is behind us. The present is our present position, and the future is ahead of us. In the subjective spiritual dimension, the past is to your right, the present is centered straight ahead, and the future is to your left. Programming a technique, the mental video technique that you can use for problem solving. To use the mental video technique, enter level 1 with the 3-to-1 method when you are in bed and ready to go to sleep. Once you are at your level, review the mental video that you created of the problem at beta. After you have reviewed the problem, mentally convert the problem into a project. Then create, with imagination, a mental video of the solution. The mental video of the solution should contain a step-by-step procedure of how you desire the project to be resolved. After both of the mental videos have been completed, go to sleep with the intention of delivering the mental video to your tutor while you sleep. Take for granted that the delivery will be made. During the next 3 days, look for indications that point to the solution. Every time you think of the project, think of the solution that you created in the mental video in a past tense sense. You have practiced entering deep, healthy levels of mind. In your next session, you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind, faster and easier than this time. Every time you function at these levels of the mind, you will receive beneficial effects physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help yourself physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help your loved ones physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help any human being who needs help physically and mentally. You will never use these levels of the mind to harm any human being. If this be your intention, you will not be able to function within these levels of the mind. You will always use these levels of the mind in a constructive, creative manner for all that is good, honest, pure, clean, and positive. And this is so. You will continue to strive to take part in constructive and creative activities to make this a better world to live in, so that when we move on, we shall have left behind a better world for those who follow. You will consider the whole of humanity, depending on their ages, as fathers or mothers, brothers or sisters, sons or daughters. You are a superior human being. You have greater understanding, compassion, and patience with others. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. At that moment, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. You will have no ill effects whatsoever in your head, no headache, no ill effects whatsoever in your hearing, no buzzing in your ears, no ill effects whatsoever in your vision and eyesight. Vision, eyesight, and hearing improve every time you function at these levels of mind. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3. At the count of 5, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before, feeling the way you feel when you have slept the right amount of revitalizing, refreshing, relaxing, healthy, wonderful sleep. 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. And may the rest of your life be the best of your life. And this is so. This concludes the mental video technique for Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP system. Thank you.